Atheist Nomads episode 365. It's 2020, so mini Hajj.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin, and joining me is Lauren.
I'm still trying to figure out the title.
Mini Hajj. The Hajj is the annual pilgrimage to Mecca.
Oh, okay.
Mini as in M-I-N-I, as in small.
Okay.
We'll be talking about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
We're here.
We are here.
It's hot.
It is. Tomorrow, the next 2 days, it's supposed to be 105.
Oh my God. What day is it?
Today's Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Got it.
So we haven't quite hit that hot, but it was almost 100 today. And our air conditioning setup is less than ideal. Barely adequate for 95.
It's all right. It's struggling, but it's hanging in there. I think tomorrow will be a popsicle day.
Tomorrow is going to be an abandon the living room day.
What am I supposed to do with Kylie?
Well, it's not until the brick starts radiating the afternoon sun into the living room
So inefficient.
that it becomes so... brick is actually really efficient insulation until it passes the heat on later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, of course, we're not alone. Everybody's hot right now.
Yeah. Some people just have better air conditioning than we do.
Yeah. The smart ones.
Ah, man. Okay, so we're going to start off just jumping straight into news. So our first story is from the U.S. Supreme Court, which if you think John Roberts being the swing vote on the Supreme Court means that John Roberts has turned into a moderate, you need to listen to a recent episode of Opening Arguments, where they several recent episodes of Opening Arguments, where they thoroughly debunked that.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was saying that. Just because he voted that one way one time.
A handful of times he has.
He has a way of doing things, of getting things through.
He's a conservative, a very conservative judge on a scale that I've seen where 0 is communist and 99 is 100 is a full-blown theocrat. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's an 11. Roberts is a 95.
Ah.
Kennedy was a 75. So the middle of the court, the swing vote was 75. And then Trump got to appoint another 99.
Yeah.
Which moved the middle in the court from 75,
which was already very unbalanced.
95.
Yeah, that's terrible. Poor Ruth.
Like, there is no equivalent liberal on the court to any of the 5 conservatives on the court.
Yeah.
Roberts just happens to not want his court to be viewed as one of the worst in history.
I don't think he'll be able to dodge that at all. I think he's going to... Him and this administration, and in fact, the past, this whole time period, the Dark Ages.
Yeah. I still fully believe that the first, at least since the Supreme Court's ruling in Bush versus Gore, possibly going back to the moral majority and Contract for America in 1994, on through to who knows when in the future will be viewed as a dark time in American history.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
And that sucks. But the U.S. Supreme Court is at least making some decent decisions. In a 5-4 decision, they denied a petition from a Calvary Chapel church in Nevada who was wanting injunctive relief against the coronavirus policies limiting in-person attendance at events.
Right. Were they claiming discrimination, or did they just want special privileges?
They just wanted to be exempted from it. And what's funny is the church's argument was that the policy treated them different from other large gatherings like casinos, gyms, and restaurants.
Except for they didn't.
Well, casinos, gyms, and restaurants are where large numbers of people go to, not where large numbers of people gather to take part in a shared experience.
Yeah.
That is very different from who they are counted in with, which are things like theaters, music venues.
Yeah, I mean, if you had worship spread out over the whole week, all hours of the day, that's one thing, but you don't. You have everybody crammed into a small space one day a week.
So this particular church that filed the lawsuit has 5 separate sanctuaries that often all operate. Under the rules, each of those rooms is allowed to have up to 1/4 of their fire rating maximum occupancy.
Okay.
Or 50 people, whichever is less.
Okay.
They have 5 of those sanctuaries that operate every Sunday, which means they could have 250 people in attendance.
Okay.
The remaining 5,000 would need to stay at home and watch from home.
Sounds like a win-win. Those people stay at home and watch from home and don't have to go to church, and they can still have a few people and live stream.
And actually be able to keep people spread out. And those numbers aren't... Nobody pulled them out of their asses. These are numbers that experts sat down, looked at the data, and tried to figure out what's the best way to have a middle ground between keeping people safe and allowing some normalcy. And that's the middle ground they found for allowing some normalcy in Nevada, which is one of the states that's in the red.
Yeah. Because there is no normalcy.
No.
But when church is your only social event, that's all right. Fine, I get it. You need a life.
There's people who make that same claim about bars.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Nevada has shut down bars. The 5 justices who voted in the majority did not issue an opinion or sign their denial. The 4 who dissented all wrote opinions or signed on to opinions. So everybody's able to, since 4 said, this is horrible, they should be granted this, and they lost, we know the other 5 all voted to deny their request for injunctive relief. The 4 that Andrew on opening arguments call the Howler Monkey contingent, which is a pretty good description, focused on the fact that casinos were in a different category than churches and were only limited to 25% occupancy. They didn't have a 50-person cap.
Casinos don't.
Casinos don't.
They cancel all their shows.
Yep.
So it's just general use.
Yep.
So they're under a different cap.
They're under a different cap because it's more like a restaurant, where if you have a restaurant that can seat 1,000 people, you'd be able to have 250 people seated in the restaurant. Because you've got the space for it.
Yeah, no. So they focus so much on that the rest of, the whole point of the argument just got lost.
Yeah. One dissent that Thomas and Kavanaugh both signed on to. The Constitution guarantees the free exercise of religion. It says nothing about the freedom to play craps or blackjack, to feed tokens into a slot machine, or to engage in any other game of chance. Alito wrote, A public health emergency does not give governors and other public officials carte blanche to disregard the Constitution for as long as the medical problem persists. Actually, it does.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of an emergency order and the police powers of the state, which the federal government does not have.
Yep. So this person's on the Supreme Court.
Gorsuch wrote his own opinion, and he said, but there is no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel.
Yeah, they got stuck on the wrong detail.
They got stuck on the casinos. Also of note, the casinos were not going to be allowed to be open under the initial rules, but the Gaming Commission in Nevada has ridiculous power and rejected the initial proposal.
Yeah, I mean, that's its own political time bomb, but I can't believe that many people on the Supreme Court got swayed by such a stupid argument.
Also, the Gaming Commission has issued over 100 citations for casinos violating the super lax rules they got.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a totally different thing. And there's a big difference between a shared event versus a bunch of people doing the same thing in the same place. Those are different. And at least churches aren't in the same category as brothels and bars, which are just shut down completely.
Yeah, no. Considering where the major outbreaks are, they should be shutting down churches too.
Yeah, they really should. Absolutely. In Saudi Arabia, home of Mecca and Medina, and host of the Hajj, the annual Muslim pilgrimage to follow in the footsteps of Muhammad as he led an army from Mecca back to his hometown of Medina to slaughter those who opposed him.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Cast out the demons and slaughter those who oppose them. Every Muslim...
we never said it was peaceful.
No. Anybody who says Islam is a religion of peace is full of bullshit. No, it is a religion with a very, very brutal story and history. Also, anybody who thinks that Christianity is a religion of peace is also full of bullshit.
Yeah. It just depends on what you currently celebrate.
Right, yeah. So, but the Hajj normally draws around 2 to 2.5 million people every year.
Wow.
Every Muslim in the world who is financially able and physically able must attend one time in their life. Many Muslims save up their entire lives to go on the Hajj. The majority of the people in attendance, so out of that 2.5 million last year, probably about 2 million, were from parts of Asia and Africa that are not the Middle East.
Oh. Tourists.
No, not tourists. Indonesians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshi,
the
Kenyans.
Outside of the Middle East Muslims.
Yeah. There's a ton of Mauritanians who many of the Mauritanians attending probably still own slaves.
Yay.
They only banned slavery there in 2005. Have not done a good job of getting rid of it. But we're talking about Saudi Arabia and the Hajj. With coronavirus, they've been trying to figure out how can they safely do a thing that involves millions of people from all over the world in the same place, doing things like kissing stones and drinking from the same fountain. And they've worked out the solution, at least a pretty decent one. Only people who are already living in Saudi Arabia are able to attend this year. 1/3 of the people allowed are Saudi citizens. The other 2/3 are foreigners living in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
They are allowing between 1,000 and 10,000 people. They all had to apply to be accepted. Upon getting accepted, officials... So for one example, Fatin Daoud is a 25-year-old Malaysian studying Arabic in Saudi Arabia. She was accepted, and the Saudi health ministry came to her home and tested her for COVID-19. She was then given an electronic bracelet to monitor her movements and was told to quarantine for several days at home. And they were watching the whole time.
Before heading out.
Then she was moved to a hotel where she is still in isolation.
Oh.
Still wearing the electronic monitor and gets food delivered to her hotel room 3 times a day. Because of how expensive this is, the Saudi government is funding everybody's expenses through the process.
Okay.
And they are making sure that everybody is tested clean and quarantined extensively to make sure that no one in attendance has COVID-19.
Some official's gonna fuck up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Some special official who just is high enough up that they waved away the COVID test is going to go in and get that 100,000 people sick.
Probably a prince.
Yep.
Furthermore,
they got the money for it.
Additionally, they're only allowing pilgrims between the age of 20 and 50 who are in good health.
Okay.
So no elderly people or people with pre-existing conditions that might make them more likely to die if they do catch COVID. And they're requiring face masks for all of the pilgrims, and they will only be able to drink holy water from the Zamzam well that has been prepackaged in plastic bottles.
Nice.
The pebbles for casting away evil that are normally picked up along the route will be sterilized and bagged before getting handed out to pilgrims to use. All pilgrims must bring their own prayer rugs, and they will be required to maintain distance when they're praying rather than packing in shoulder to shoulder.
Right. Okay.
If you want to do crazy religious gatherings safely, this is how.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Calvary Chapel is complaining about only being able to allow 50 people into a room. Saudi Arabia is only allowing a few thousand instead of a few million.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between the U.S. and the rest of the world.
Yep.
We're very, very, we're spoiled.
Mm-hmm. Conservatives, media outlets, and Donald Trump and the like have been pushing a video with doctors promoting COVID-19 conspiracy theories.
Oh, God, this. Yeah, I saw one of those show up on Facebook somewhere. Of course, there's an article totally making fun of it, but...
The star of this video is Stella Emanuel. In it, she says that she has successfully used hydrochloroquine to treat patients. This is despite the fact that there is not really good evidence that it works, and that it may actually increase the likelihood of patients dying. She also claims that face masks are unnecessary. Her credentials are that of a pediatrician and a religious minister.
That's scary.
When you're talking about a respiratory pandemic, a pediatrician should not be your main source of information. Epidemiologist, pulmonologist, those are the better doctors to be talking to about it.
It's the same as everything. There's always some scientists that, like global warming, there's always that 5% that go against the trend, and people will they'll ignore every other scientist that says something.
which those 5% are usually in fields like geology.
Yeah, not related.
Not even closely related. A pediatrician is one of the least likely people to be involved in COVID-19 care. But she makes all kinds of bizarre claims otherwise. Like, she's claimed that ovarian cysts and endometriosis are caused by people having sex in their dreams with demons and witches.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's all you need to know about this lady's qualifications.
She claims that DNA from aliens is being used in medical treatments.
What? Oh, this poor woman.
Scientists are working on a vaccine to prevent people from being religious.
Oh, God, I wish.
The God vaccine. And even though she actually was in D.C. lobbying Congress, she claims that the government is run in part by reptilians and other aliens.
She's crazy.
And
with a capital K.
Reptilian is a very specific alien conspiracy.
Yeah.
That Jews are not human. That they're actually reptilian aliens and are in control of the world.
So it's anti-Semitic in particular?
Yes.
Whew. This lady's got problems.
And so Facebook has gotten rid of her page and deleted all of her videos.
Oh, good.
So she tweeted, "Hello, Facebook. Put back my profile page and videos up, or your computers with start crashing till you do. You are not bigger that God. I promise you. If my page is not back up, Facebook will be down in Jesus' name."
Aww. Aww. It's just sad.
I read that as the exact quote. It's hard to not correct the mistakes, but yeah, that is exactly what she wrote.
So she's not very well educated.
She's an MD who completed a pediatrics residency, so you know she at least got a bachelor's degree and did pretty well.
How come I flunked out of college?
Then got into medical
people like
school.
this are able to get freaking MDs.
Did 4 years of medical school and successfully completed a internship in pediatrics residency. How the fuck?
Where'd she buy that degree?
That's not one you can really buy.
That's amazing.
I hope she gets investigated by her local board of
medicine.
medicine.
Like something seriously mentally, like schizophrenia, something undiagnosed, untreated.
Yeah.
And the blame probably goes to her family for not getting her under control.
No, I'm going to say it goes with the board of medicine. If she's making claims like that, her license should be pulled.
That's true. Yeah, that's poor kids.
Yeah. Also, yeah, who's letting her see children? President Trump is still suggesting the use of hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah. Apparently, this has been brought up in good old local news Facebook comments. Well, other places in the world are using it, so why can't we? Like, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they are not. It's not being used successfully in any other country.
Nope.
I don't know where they got that claim.
Because France has done studies on it, and the studies found that it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not the same as successfully using.
Yeah. There was the one study out of France that said it worked, and that study was published. The lead author was also the publisher of the journal and the owner of the hospital, and actively participating in the administering of the drug to patients. So already a bunch of red flags. And he counted as successful any patient who stopped taking it for reasons other than not feeling terrible while on it. Oh, actually, no, those were counted too. So any patient that got transferred out because they were too bad and had to stop it didn't die while on it.
So, yay! Thumbs up?
And so, yeah, a lot of patients he gave it to survived. And a lot of the ones and most of the ones who didn't were no longer in his facility. Because they needed to go to an ICU.
Oh, God. I can't believe...
That's the study that started all of it.
Do no harm? Isn't that important?
Yeah. So yeah, Trump is continuing to claim that it works. He tweeted about it. Adding to the retweet he did, quote, "Here in America, it is being suppressed to keep deaths high so the economy can be shut down ahead of the election. It's sick."
Oh, my God. It's always about the election.
We're talking about Donald Trump. It's always about him.
Yeah.
Everything is about him. This medicine doesn't work. Obviously, it's a conspiracy against Donald Trump. That a medicine for autoimmune disorders doesn't work against a virus.
He's a loser, and he'll always be a loser, and it's just so sad.
Representative Ted Yoho is he's a Florida man. From Republican from Florida's 3rd District, which covers Gainesville, Palatka, and Ocala. And he was on the board of Bread for the World, which is a Christian nonprofit raising money to try to fight starvation and poverty. And he was on the board of directors for it until he called AOC, quote, a fucking bitch.
Ha!
Publicly.
Yeah. Don't take it personally, people.
And then refused to apologize.
Right.
So, Bread for the World decided that he did not represent their organization well, and he and they agreed to part ways.
Yeah, no kidding.
He is one of the most right-wing rabid assholes in the House of Representatives.
Vote him out!
And too crazy for a Christian charity.
Yes, because charities typically kind of try to help people.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we're going to go to baseball.
That took a right turn.
Yep. Baseball has started. There are no fans in any of the stadiums. Players are getting tested all the time. Who, by the way, are asymptomatic. If you or I are asymptomatic, at least now in Boise, we can't get tested.
Yeah.
Even if pretty positive that we had a serious major exposure to it, still couldn't get tested. But baseball players can. So yeah, they're all getting tested a lot, and almost every single player in basically every sport is now joining into the protest started by Colin Kaepernick several years ago, kneeling for the national anthem in protest for Black Lives Matter.
Good for them. Good for them.
Except for the San Francisco Giants relief pitcher, Sam Coonrod.
Yeah, but he's relief pitcher, so nobody cares.
He remained standing while everybody else was kneeling.
That's embarrassing.
So, of course, he got asked about why.
And he gave the whitest answer you can imagine.
All right, I'm going to read the quote here. Quote, "I am a Christian. I can't get on board on a couple of things that I've read about Black Lives Matter, how they lean toward Marxism and some negative things about the nuclear family. I meant no ill will by it. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I'm just a Christian. I believe I can't kneel before anything but God, Jesus Christ. I choose not to kneel. I feel if I did kneel, I'd be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite. End quote.
Give him credit for that one. At least he's being honest about being, anti-BLM.
Uh-huh.
That's more than most people, I guess.
The Marxist thing? Yeah, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter was a Marxist. Most aren't.
Yeah. But that's all it takes. Is one person in one city in one protest light a car on fire, all BLM is bad.
Yep. And negative things about the nuclear family.
I don't know what he's talking about there. Is he getting the BLM and Gay Lives Matter thing?
I have no idea.
Is he getting his protests crossed?
I have no idea. But to say that he can't kneel because he's a Christian is a dipshit thing to do.
It's so white American evangelical bullshit. It's this snooty attitude that they're above everyone else. Mm-hmm. He says he didn't feel that way, but it's a way to make yourself separate from everyone else and feel better about themselves. I only kneel before Jesus. Yeah, well. Makes you a douche.
Now, he did bow his head.
That's probably more out of respect for the national anthem itself than...
Even though you're supposed to hold your head up high during it.
Oh.
And he held his hands in front of him instead of...
He was praying.
Putting his hand on his heart. It looks like he's praying.
He's praying. They just get off on that.
Yeah. Especially if they can get criticism for it.
Yep. Because then they get on podcasts like this.
So, Walmart, along with a lot of other retailers, are requiring face masks in their stores, regardless of whether or not they're required by local rules or not.
Okay.
So,
watch the shit hit the fan.
Yes, a couple went to a Walmart in Marshall, Minnesota on Saturday. This was actually the first day of Minnesota's statewide mask mandate. And so they walked into the store wearing face masks and were asked to leave. You want to guess what was on those face masks?
Oh, God. What was on them?
Swastikas.
Yep. Okay. Nazis. Nazis got a shop, too. God.
One of the employees in response to that, whose, interestingly enough, grandmother lived in Germany during World War II and was part of the resistance against the Nazi regime, said to the couple, "You're sick, you have an illness, you can't be an American and wear that mask. You can't. We literally had a war about this." The woman replied back, "If you vote for Biden, you're going to be in Nazi Germany. That's what it's going to be like."
Wow.
She claimed to not be a Nazi.
She was just trying to get people riled up about Biden?
So the manager asked, "Then why are you wearing the fucking mask?"
Cosplay?
And the reply back was, "Because I'm trying to tell you, if you vote for Biden, this is what we're going to have. Socialism."
Oh, wow. Way off base there. But what a misuse of the Nazi symbol.
Yeah.
Because everybody, except for the 1% who confront you, who look at you, just assume Nazi. They're not going to ask you about why you're wearing it.
No.
There's no open for discussion, and that it's an intimidation tactic to scare people.
and they're also mixing their political metaphors.
Yeah.
Republicans are the ones who tend towards fascism, like the Nazis.
But Adolf Hitler started with socialist programs. That's how they think.
Yeah.
It all starts with socialists.
Democrats.
And then the fascists take over.
Right. But right-wing political ideologies, while Biden, if he's more centrist in terms of global political ideologies, but the left-wing equivalent is communist. If they were wanting to make that statement, the mask should have had a hammer and sickle.
Yeah. Okay.
Not a swastika.
No, they missed that.
So obviously they're obviously they're idiots.
Obviously.
But also, if they're trying to make a point, they really missed the point and just made themselves look like Nazis.
I think they're Nazis. They got called out on it and didn't want and got flustered into saying something else.
Yeah. And actually the manager who confronted them is German. She was born and raised in Germany.
That's funny.
And it was her great-grandmother that was a Nazi resistor.
That's funny. Then she would say that you can't be American. It's like, no, you can't be human.
Yeah.
It's not about being American. Although, the Americans did fight on the anti-Nazi side. There were even Germans who were on the anti-Nazi side.
Oh, and to add to it, you want to guess what shirts they were wearing?
Trump?
Yep.
Yeah. He's a Nazi, guys.
If you're wearing a Trump shirt, wearing a swastika and a Trump campaign shirt, you're a Nazi.
Yeah. Here's your sign.
Yeah. All right. Texas, home of all kinds of Texas. Attorney General Ken Paxton. God damn. I hate modern websites.
Yeah.
I hate that every website has 4 or 5 pop-ups. And that's even if you have network-wide advertising blockers. You still have to dismiss the fucking newsletter sign up and acknowledge or dismiss cookies.
I hate it when they pop one pops up and then as you click to get rid of it, it moves.
Yeah.
And then you end up clicking something else and then that opens something up. Oh, that pisses me off.
Oh, and then the featured articles. And while you're here, do you want to look at this? Could you take our survey? Please sign up for our newsletter. I haven't even looked at anything on your site. Why do I want to sign up for your newsletter or fill out a survey?
For the coupons, obviously.
Anyway, the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has put out a guidance letter for schools on how they can comply with the state's rules for resuming in-person instruction. Except this guidance was specifically for religious private schools.
Oh.
In other words, what rules they can ignore.
Ah.
Specifically, all of them.
Wow. Super transparent there, guys.
Yep. He said that they need not comply with recent local and county health orders barring in-person instruction until after Labor Day. So they can resume in-person instruction free from any government mandate or interference. They don't have to comply with any orders, which means no limits on when they can start, no limits on how many people can be in attendance, and they can't be forced to require face masks.
I feel bad for everybody who sends their kids there. It's too late in the year for you to get them into another school.
Yeah.
Homeschool, guys. I don't know how, but online public school is about the only option right now.
All right, so now let's talk about Portland. Wired actually has a really good article. It was written by Emma Gray Ellis, who lives in Portland and writes for Wired.
Okay.
Who went to one of the protests recently. One of the protests where the shit hit the fan.
Oh.
So she showed up, and it looked like a block party. But not. There's a bunch of people eating hot dogs and protein bars and
Well, this has been going on for how long?
barbecued riot ribs. 2 months.
So these people, it is a community thing now.
Now, they were also wearing face masks and helmets and enough clothing to protect themselves from projectiles.
Yeah.
And they projected an image of George Floyd across the boarded up windows of the Multnomah County Justice Center. They danced laser pointers on the buildings where federal agents were hiding and had cheeky signs saying things like, quote, "Go home because I said so. Love, Mom."
Nice.
The different groups in the protest were all identifiable. There was the nurses, the moms, the teachers, doctors, lawyers, all clearly identifiable. So, like, lawyers in suits with signs, "Please release my client," and nurses in their scrubs, and moms with signs about things saying things like, "Go home because I said so." There was volunteers going around giving hand sanitizers, water, earplugs. There was a drum circle.
Fucking drum circles. You're asking for it if you have a drum circle.
There was
It's like a prayer circle.
chanting of, thousands of people chanting Black Lives Matter and Feds Go Home. And then by 11 p.m., another group of people showed up.
Just like they always do.
All wearing helmets with baseball bats and hockey sticks. And they went up to the front towards where the federal law enforcement were and started throwing firecrackers. So the federal agents, unidentified federal agents.
Right, because none of them are marked at all.
No identification on them, no agency on them. That's when they returned fire with tear gas and large rubber, something between a rubber bullet and cannonball.
Ugh. It's just, a part of me laughs at this because, God, these feds are so easy to trigger. And then, of course, you actually look at who's doing the triggering, and it's like, God damn it, guys.
Yeah.
Pure evil. I don't even believe in evil. That's just a dick move. But if you want to break up a protest, the peaceful protest, the best way to do it is to start violence.
Mm-hmm. They finally tracked down who it was that started the rioting in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And it was a white supremacist who was member of an Aryan motorcycle gang as well as Hell's Angels. He was the umbrella man.
Oh, God, the umbrella.
Who broke the first window.
Yep. It's all, I mean, it almost sounds like a conspiracy theory. You think, nah, this is too big. Somebody would have spilled the beans by now. There's got to be people on the inside who are reporting this to feds, who are reporting it to the news. They're not, though. They just keep showing up towards the end of peaceful protests and just busting shit up. And it's just like, come on, feds.
Oh, and everybody was live streaming this.
Yeah.
And watching the live streams of it.
They're willing to sacrifice themselves to get this stuff as violent as possible.
So what the media is showing is what's getting captured in, the most reportable moments of what's being captured live. And that's when it gets ugly.
Of course, because that's the most interesting part.
Right. What they're not capturing is the mundane and boring.
And hours and hours of drum circles and hot dog eating.
Now, despite all this, there are still federal agents in Portland, maybe still in Seattle.
Well,
in Chicago.
There are. I mean, there.
Well, yeah.
There are.
But this.
You mean the stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That are driving around and grabbing people.
Apparently, they're just going back and forth because some people have identified the same faces. In Seattle and Portland, so they're swapping back and forth.
It's only a 3-hour drive.
Yeah. It's like they're probably mercenaries.
But at the point you've got unidentified masked agents driving around in unmarked vans, snatching people.
Your president's a fascist.
Yeah.
God damn. That should lose him the seat right there.
And
he should get impeached again for that. That's V for Vendetta shit right there.
And the principle they're applying for this is that with all the laws that were passed after September 11 that created the Department of Homeland Security, it included a provision that allows Homeland Security to deputize agents of any federal agency to be used to protect federal assets. Buildings, monuments.
Buildings and monuments are more important to them than the lives of the people who are protesting.
Yep.
Which is why they're protesting.
And you want to know when that hasn't been activated?
When white people protest?
When Ammon Bundy and friends occupied a federal installation at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. They occupied federal property, they destroyed federal property, and there was almost no federal response. They left it mostly to the locals to handle.
Yeah. Who basically shook their hands and let them go.
Yeah. The appropriate response is somewhere between the two extremes that we have seen. And also, protesters in the court, a big park surrounded by courthouses, is very different than an armed group occupying a government headquarters building.
Even if it is out of the middle bumfuck nowhere.
Right. They picked the middle of nowhere because they knew they weren't going to get a major response.
Yeah.
If they had seized the federal courthouse, things would have been different.
Yeah. I wish they had.
Yeah. So yeah, the Portland protests are both as bad and not as bad as they seem.
Yeah. What a weird way to come around that.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for feedback. We got a email from Lauren L. from Republican Atheists. The one interview I've actually done to completion and published that I regret. The email starts, press release, contact Lauren L. Oh, fuck no, we're not going to be sharing any of that. She is a horrible, terrible person.
I don't know. How are we still on her mailing list? That's why I think you should respond. God.
They did some video featuring Republican atheists from a bunch of states, including one who's not in the country. That's probably Lauren L., who lives in Sweden.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. You don't get to comment on American politics.
And, at this point, if you lean Republican in terms of what the Republican Party used to be, you have my sympathies.
Yeah, because you're stuck. You really are. There isn't a party out there that you can call your own, which is why the Republican Party, as it is now, needs to die.
Yep.
And, like the Phoenix, be reborn into something sane.
And this is something that has happened before in the U.S. The Federalist Party died.
Caw! That's the sound of the Phoenix, by the way.
Whig Party died. We haven't had a party die since the 1850s.
The Republic KKKs need to die.
It's time.
Yeah.
And heck, 100 years ago, you could have easily made the argument the Democratic Party needed to die. Realistically, it should have after the Civil War.
It just changed, but kept the name.
But it's changed many times since then. The Republican Party, as it stands now, needs to die and be reborn.
Yeah. But it's going to take the moderate Republicans to stand up and actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's going to involve them having to vote for a party that they don't necessarily agree with. Because it's a two-party system.
If you're... In 2020, if you're a Republican atheist, you can't agree with either party.
Yeah, heck, if you're a progressive liberal atheist, you can't agree with either party. There's problems with all parties. But which is why it's an inherently messed up system. But look at the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want the future of the Supreme Court to be? Do you want them to all be 99s? Or do we need to balance it back out? Vote for president is going to make that.
Well, the specific issue for a Republican atheist is the fact that they are consistently appointing theocrats to the Supreme Court.
There are,
and to the judgeships.
They're giving religious exemptions to everybody.
Yeah, it's not just that they're appointing conservatives, traditional classical conservatives. No, they are appointing theocrats.
People who literally think that within their short lifetime, the world is going to end because Jesus is coming.
Yeah, Christian nationalist activists.
Yep.
Voting for Joe Biden is the only way to stop Christian nationalist activists from being appointed to the courts.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't stop them.
Stop more being appointed.
But stop the...
Yeah.
And that in particular, the court system in the U.S. is supposed to be part of the check and balance system,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally been trampled on.
Yeah.
And pissed on, which Trump probably gets off on.
Oh, McConnell definitely does.
Ugh. Ew. Ugh.
Yeah. All right. From Trent via the website. The town where the couple wore the Nazi face masks is where I lived for 5 years and where I went to college. There is definitely hatred and racism there, but the swastikas are on a whole other level. I know you focus on the Intermountain West, which unfortunately is not without its white supremacist organizations. Montana and Idaho have way too many. Marshall's in the reddest part of blue Minnesota, but is the corporate headquarters of Schwann's and is a college town. Swastika flags on full display there are a gut punch to me, and I have not fully processed. I saw you'd posted the article on Facebook and wanted to let you know I had that connection. If you follow up the story on the show, look into the community of Marshall and the growing diversity in Southwest Minnesota.
See, that's beautiful. And it is a few.
Yeah.
It is a few of the crazies that are being loud and rude and obnoxious. And it sucks to see a town that, whether you love it or just, you spent some time there, it sucks to see it get trashed.
Mm-hmm.
Vandalism via flags or Nazi symbols or white supremacist organizations.
Yeah. And Trent, sorry, we drove by you last week. If you had sent this a week earlier, we would have definitely hit you up on another visit. And from Rich via the website, Dustin, off subject, but don't miss Phil Ferguson, number 348, regarding hospital, ERs, and private equity pirates.
Oh, God, that's a hard one to swallow.
Yeah, I did listen to that. And
you work with somebody who suffered from...
Yeah. One of the PAs that I work with is his, and prior to COVID would regularly eat lunch with. His wife was having a horrible asthma attack. They went to the ER at the hospital he works at, and the normal emergency physician group staffing that ER is in network on the hospital insurance. The subcontracted doctor was not.
So even though he went to an ER that he worked for, that we've been told time and time again is tier 1,
yep,
best coverage, they subcontracted it out to some private group.
According to the insurance company,
who doesn't accept insurance.
According to the insurance company, you only pay $100 for an ER visit.
Yeah.
Unless the ER doc doesn't take insurance.
And bills you separately.
For thousands.
Yep. And then, of course, you can't pay it, so that goes to collections, which screws up your credit, ruins your life.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's like poaching. It's sickening that the hospitals that we trust to take care of us allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously they're okay with it.
Yep.
But you never know what you're going to have to give your ER doctor or your ambulance driver the 5th degree in the middle of an emergency just to check and see if you're going to be covered. Because there are people who will not get in an ambulance if it's going to cost them money.
Right.
They'd rather die.
And it's bullshit. Because you could conceivably run into a situation where you've got 2 ERs available, and one ER is in network, the other one is out of network. But the doctor at the one that is in network is out of network, and the doctor at the one that is out of network is in network.
And it's the luck of the draw.
And you're fucked either way.
Yep. That's the American system right there.
Yep.
So the fact that you even knew a person who had that exact same thing happen at the hospital that you work for.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Ferguson did a good job on that.
Oh, yeah.
You were obviously telling me all about it, but good show. Good show. It'll make you hate yourself, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And where you live.
On a side note, though, I finally took advantage of some of my contacts at work because Lauren's care has been stagnating and a sleep issue has gone 2.5 years without getting really figured out.
I've had procedures.
Yeah.
That didn't do anything.
We've spent literally thousands of dollars on devices and procedures and have yet to get to a solid diagnosis or effective treatment. And so
I can't even get disability. That's what pisses me off.
So I reached out to a contact at work and was like, hey, could you point me in the right direction on how I can get some help on this? And she was like, let me help. Okay. Every meeting I go to, I am always the lowest ranking person. This particular person that I reached out to is a director at a event that I took part in, a rapid improvement event where the average rank of the people present was director. There were as many technical people like me as there were VPs there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice when you can actually put some of those contacts to use. And I called her up, or sent her an instant message and was like, can you tell me, could you point me in the right direction as to who can help? And she reached out to a couple of her colleagues, other directors, and Lauren had 3 phone calls within an hour and a half.
Yeah. And I've gotten 4 major things scheduled or taken care of.
Yeah.
So they're able to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm extremely lucky. We'll see how if any of this actually goes through, because that's, again, they're like, oh yeah, okay, here, let's help, and then nothing. That's very common.
If it starts to fall through the cracks again, it'll just be another instant message.
Catch her during a meeting where she's bored out of her mind because it has nothing to do with her.
Yep.
Bing. Oh, here's something to work on. Okay.
Yeah. Here's something easy that will make someone happy.
I really want to make her zucchini bread. I wonder if she likes zucchini bread.
All right. Well, we are out of time. It is late.
It's hot.
And it's hot. So
stay sweaty, guys.
I'm sorry this episode is going to be late. Oh, one of the reasons I brought up the getting some progress on that is
There's
life
a point to that?
Yes. One of the reasons why episodes have been a little bit later is that life has been difficult lately. Lauren's fatigue has been
What? No.
has been worse. And it makes things more difficult.
bad sleep contributes to your bad sleep, and then our coffee maker died, so fuck it.
We've been doing French press for the last little bit and got a new coffee maker now.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss those pork sausages you made, though.
Yeah. I can still do that. I can just do that while drinking coffee.
I like it.
And but yeah, so life has been difficult, and that's one of the reasons why things have been delayed a little bit.
That wasn't a double entendre, by the way. I really just do like pork.
Yeah. And so that wraps it up for this week. Remember, not all those who wander are lost.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/atheistnomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.